Good evening. Thank you all so much for being here tonight to celebrate the opening of Rodrigo Valenzuela, Work in Its Place. Tonight, we have the honor of having Rodrigo with us to talk about the exhibition, and it will be followed by a PowerPoint presentation downstairs of his work. He'll talk about materials, methods, concepts, subjects of his work in general. I'm Cheryl Hartup, the Associate Curator of Academic Programs in Latin American Art, and we're thrilled to have you here with us this evening. I'm just going to begin by thanking a lot of people who made this project happen. So first person I want to thank is Theo Downs-Le Guin and his staff from Up for Gallery in Portland. They've given so freely of their time and expertise and support from the moment I walked into the gallery and said, "Who is Rodrigo Valenzuela?" And I want to thank, of course, Jill Hartz, our executive director here at the JSMA. She trusts her staff, she supports our passions, and she believes in the power of art to change how we perceive things in the world. And this show is generously funded, made possible by the Hartz Fund for Contemporary Art, which was created in honor of Jill, so thank you. I also want to thank some faculty who were very instrumental in helping us with this project. Brian Gillis and Tanaz Farsi, thank you so much for organizing woodshop logistics and also 8 studio visits with students. Thank you so much. Rodrigo has been busy. He also spoke to Jenny Lynn's class this morning. So thank you for inviting him to do that. And thank you for all the time that you've given connecting with faculty and students, and also our photography collection advisory committee, some of whose members are here tonight. So thank you, Rodrigo. I also want to, of course, thank some other folks. Erica Milo, Shane Davis, Rihanna Schultz, Ben Gardner. They helped with various aspects of the exhibition. And our amazing staff here, my colleagues, they just do tremendous work. They handle the complex logistics of an exhibition like this with unwavering optimism. So I want to thank the crew, Chris White, Joey Capadona, Mark O'Hara, Beth Robinson, Anthony Edwards, Daryl Evans, Chancey O'Connor, Mike Bragg, Jonathan Smith, Debbie Williamson-Smith, all of these people for their eyes, their ideas, for building the structure and for matting and framing and hanging all the art. And Rodrigo, I want to thank you, of course. Thank you for giving us new ways of seeing. Thank you for making these powerful textured images of Death Valley. And thank you for bringing your work to this place. It's been a pleasure collaborating with you. And 2 things I'll say about Rodrigo before I give a more formal introduction of him downstairs. He was born in Santiago, Chile, and he is on the art faculty at UCLA. So please join me in welcoming Rodrigo Valenzuela.
Thank you, Cheryl, and this project is really cool to have give a lot of control to Cheryl and Joy and all the people from the install crew. You kind of have to trust that everybody wants to see a good show. So the people from the museum has been super generous with their, not only with their time, but also with their talent and their imagination about solving problems and making the best out of it. You know, the installation, this room, originally I wanted this metal structure, but you know, budget and size and many things are like, Joey starts thinking with me, the preparator, about the possibilities for this structure to be something else and to respond to the space better. And this is the ghost or the skeleton from a previous exhibition. So it was really interesting how the exhibition came together. I came early in the year, around January, and I worked with Cheryl to like pick the permanent collection and like look around and see what are the issues I was interested in addressing and how much of all the present or the weight of the information that has been taught to me is like, for one side I want to honor, and for other side I want to like update it and rethink about it. What is the weight of this information and what is the role in contemporary production when it comes to having this baggage, carrying with you the weight of the institutionalized knowledge, right? So I pick mostly painters and photographers and sculptors that have been thinking very romantically about the American West. When you know, this issue has been present in my work for a long time. I studied philosophy at Evergreen, and all the knowledge I've been given is come from this like Western tradition. And it's either studying Sublime and Kant, and right now thinking about objects and objecthood, and from Heidegger perspective, like thinking a lot, so much issues. They are part of this tradition of the assuming Western knowledge as like the prime and only unique source for information or to engage in dialogue with or against. So you know, that is one side. I love movies, I make photos and videos, installations. So thinking about what also happened in movies when you consider who are the main characters in movies, who are the protagonists, who are the secondary characters, and how you can make that equivalent into an art installation or into art. You know, who is in the background of your knowledge. Is usually the opposite to who is in the background of the movies itself, right? Like you see a lot of people of color in the background of movies, kind of not being the protagonists, and when it comes to knowledge, you see a lot of people, European, mostly men, as in the background of your knowledge. So in this case, I wanted to revert that, and I wanted to, while still recognizing that they are present and they're all going to be present as a hegemonic knowledge and as a way to like manage the way that they also have colonized our minds and our imagination and the way we speak about art. I wanted to put forward my work, or a work that feels labor, and a work that is like, early during the day, I was having a conversation with someone about what the landscape itself, how the landscapes are different than other landscapes. And and they're not different at all. And that is the thing I want. Is like like in some way I show a lot of work, and I work a lot installations, and I basically have like 2 shows a month, and a lot of people usually insist like that you wanna get tired, or you wanna like your work's gonna get watered down, but in some way. I look at making art as it's like social exercise, or like becoming present in the world. And some days you suck, and like sometimes I like wanna like, and I wanna be able to suck sometimes when making art, So this exercise of like making a landscape that is not different than the other landscapes have a lot of relationship with that. It's like the content of the work, or there is no difference, but for once you have to put it in front, So like I just don't. It's basically, it's like they just put everybody that like you in the same playing field and compare where that knowledge really come from. My knowledge of the landscape and how we structure ourselves in the land and what we pursue when we're going out and take land, a photo of the land and those feelings that you try to capture, it is very important to give a little bit more autonomy to people of color and women and people that not historically wanted to represent the land or like take ownership of the land, because there's a pure act of clicking in the camera means a lot. It is a lot of power. So I wanted to put the people that have been historically concealed into the box. You still can see it, but they are not the protagonist. And that is, it's a simple message, but I think it's like the installation produced the necessity to look through the cracks if you want, but they are not put in the forefront of the conversation. The photocopies have been a key part of my production since I was in grad school. Like, I was undocumented for a long time, so this idea of landscape for me means a lot more things, because like the desert in California, it is like in the public consciousness, it is this place for possibilities, for ideas of manifest destiny to the Western movies to home state acts. There have been always this land being used and manipulated for political or social reasons or emotional reasons. So make them they just mean possibilities in the popular imagination. So I wanted to translate these landscapes from photo. What it means to me, freedom. It is a photocopy. It's a bureaucrat. For me, photocopies are the material of bureaucracy. It's how I became legal, how I have to do a lot of paperwork for it. So it's grabbing paper and translating the image from the photocopy onto the canvas, and using this basically talentless, painterly act. It was part of the production too. That the image get dissolved. As much I watch it, you can see the colors coming out. So the process of making an image is also, or making displays is a subtractive process, right? And I think that has a lot to do with like when we find a place as immigrants, you subtract a lot of things from your life. You take a lot, you strip things to start adding more, personal baggage or like emotional commitment to this new life, but you have to strip a lot to become part of it. So yeah, that's kind of like the core of intentions of the work. Somebody have questions? I've been talking so much. Yeah.
This is now a piece that's finished and it's sort of receding in time.
Yeah.
Was there something that surprised you about this installation for yourself?
A lot of things, because I trust. I give a lot of agency to the crew. Like, I mean, Cheryl and Joey, they really use a lot of their own creativity to like put the word. I didn't give instructions about like I just I make a drawing, but it's just like a shelf. Whatever you understand as a shelf, that I just build it. So I just want the shelviness of the piece. I don't want a particular design. I don't want to like. I don't think I'm more talented than the person that works here every day to build stuff. So you just have to rely on that he wants the best for the and have fun with it. So the placement of the objects were really creative, and I think that has to do a lot with Cheryl, and they work here all the time. So they work here. They know the pieces better than I do. So like you just have to let the people that know how to use the machine, and you So like, so yeah, the placement of the objects were like a good surprise and very creative moments, and I have nothing to do with it. To me, it was more like this collaborative effort where like you work in the museum part, and I work in the like respond to the museum part. Like so, like and the work have to do with like. I came here early in the year and I look at the work, so I knew kind of what kind of framing I wanted. In this case, the landscape, the way that painters and use the landscape, I think it have a lot to do with expansion and the narrative that the landscape have to offer. And to me, shooting the landscape as a portrait it was part of the thing, just trying to, how this is going to become part of a person's experience. So shooting at portrait style, where you can see it almost one-to-one with your body, it was part of the process that happened after I came here to look at the image. Elements like the reference to the Zabriskie point, the movie, is together with the elements of the romanticism implied in the movie and the messiness of the movie. Has a lot to do with the romanticism in the paintings and the messiness of the display. So I try to make the most cohesive and of the project. Yeah?
Could you talk about the process of how you make the photograph, how it's transferred, how you make it, why it's on canvas, that whole process?
Yeah. So I go to Death Valley, I shoot medium format film. I then develop and I scan, and then I print them in this like toner photocopies. I use these places where you go to do architectural prints, the reprographic places. And then I transfer them with glue, with matte medium, face down onto the canvas. And then you have to remove slowly the paper, pulp, and the toner gets stuck into the canvas. I want the roughness of producing something. And I like the durability of the image and the lack of respect for this, like, for one side, it's interesting because you lose respect for the beauty of the photo, but also you gain respect for the labor of the artist. So there is something interesting about what happened there. The transaction that some of the images that they are more fucked up, they are like really interesting, and I think that is like that is what you gain. You become interesting and less beautiful. Yeah.
Is that a reverse image then? You said
Yeah, it's just get flipped. Yeah.
So you have the image on the canvas. What is the canvas mounted on? Because it's floating in there.
Yeah, it's mounted onto wood. I did it here. So I rolled them on. Oh, that's another thing, because I travel so much and I can make and I make so many shows that working this way allow me to like go buy a canvas, and there is kinkos everywhere. There is like you can make a print and then roll them up and travel. I flew with them on Thursday morning, and Friday and Saturday I made the frames, and I made this here with the help of Brian and the people from the art department allowed me to use the wood shop. So I came and I did all the work here to mount, and then you glue it with carpet tape, and then you're there.
So there's a wooden, they're
Yeah.
not stretcher bars though.
No. It's just flat. Yeah, it's a flat piece of wood that is just mounted there. Yeah.
So you talked about a subtractive process.
Yeah.
But in some of the images, it almost looked like color had been added. Is that just the color remaining from?
So yeah, because like the yellow. I mean, I spray paint some of them, but they have all these layers of the first. I think the yellow is first, and then the magenta, and then the cyan, and then the black. So the more that you wash it, the more that like, and then when you put like the varnish kind of like lift them all. And so if you move the varnish, you can see the oranges and so some of them are dripping because I put the varnish and then I spray it with with a house sprayer, and then the magenta or the reddish color start dripping down. So yeah, that is basically I've been making all these landscape paintings that I use it as a base, and I do a lot of architectural shapes. And I always have the problem of that whenever I want to seal the painting, the colors were coming out, and the roller was coming all orange and red and really ugly, and sometimes it could move, and the orange could go to the sky and could like really yellowing and weird. So, and like my grandpa was a carpenter, and he always had like, he wasn't well educated but he was really smart about materials and about being practical and being really like not wasting time in like questioning things, because he was a furniture maker. So like, and I always try to learn, I try to do something that he says, like you have to make the feature, the problem the feature, right? So like what I was trouble me in past pieces to like get this material moving all around, this time I use it, I start selectively removing it to create the image, right? So like, I mean, and you can see it in general. As one of the students, I was giving this example because it's, when you encounter a really good furniture maker, the table always have to be flat and with 4 legs and solid. That is the only condition that the table need to have. But when you see a wood craftsman, you look at the joints, and the joints are the thing that give you problems. And you see a craftsman having really intricate, strong joints. And that is the only thing that tells you when a person is like, is good at their job or not. And like that is the thing that gives you the most trouble. So in some way, all tables are the same, but like you can tell when a person it knows what they're doing when they make the problem, the feature, you know. And so like that is a good way to go with art. There's so many problems, but you have to like use them as solution a lot of the time. Yeah.
So I have a question about the relationship of the pictures on the outside with the ones on the inside. So the ones on the inside with the fancy frames and the detailed work that we can't quite have access to, and then the outside ones, I'm thinking, so that's like the characters that you were talking about, that sometimes we see people in the background, or we see minimalized people in the background, and we don't know what they're about. So is this like making us look? Is that what your intent is, to make us try to look to things we really can't see?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to like, in my mind, the art worker or the person that work in the art, it should be like my work, right? The framer of the work, and then the person that been making the paintings like 100 years ago. Like there is something beautiful about the back of the paintings too. And like and the history that they carry. So I wanted to like really also evidence the back of the paintings as a beauty in the art, and it's like and kind of like dismissed. But there's such an interesting discourse on the paper and the framing and the finishing, and yeah, I wanted to like basically go labor by labor, allowing them to become present to you.
So it shows the hand.
Yeah.
It shows the materiality of the frame itself.
Yeah.
And the people that are behind that. I get that's
Yeah,
great. Okay.
I think that's why I wanted to show the frames too.
Thank you.
Yeah. So one more.
Today we were talking and you said something that really struck me, which is, and I'll say it in Spanish and then I'll translate. We were talking about the desert and the landscape of the American West and why think about this landscape in particular. And you said, es el lugar en donde los sueños van a morir, or something like that, you know, donde los sueños se mueren. So it's the place where dreams go to die, in a way. And I thought that was not only poetic, but so revealing. And I was wondering, could you talk more about why the desert, especially in this context of the American West?
Yeah, I mean, it is, you know, it feels like every 10 years or every 5 years, so somebody like rediscover Joshua Tree and then just trying to buy houses and they like move there and make a art residency or a colony, and like it's just not a pleasant place to live, and like people keep thinking that, you know, I mean, Americans have this like amazing capacity of put themselves in the center of every problem, and it's just like, so like I think being the pioneer is such a big part of it. Like just trying to think like that you can be the one that will make it better. It's very interesting. Like not learning from an history is something that also is done best in this society. So it is fascinating that like you see houses from like 100 years ago, houses from 20 years ago being like abandoned in the middle of the desert. So it's interesting how much of a insist on a place that doesn't want you, and I think it's very very beautiful in some way that like you want to conquer nature and like yeah, it's something about class too, about like like about this necessity of conquer nature is have a lot to do with race and class too. You never see a group of like all black Himalaya conquerors. Like you never see people that trying to go and conquer nature. Of like like there's like I mean, and statistically it is hard to enjoy nature in the way that the government wants you, but also it's being like primarily for a different class structure to enjoy nature. You live off the nature, but you just don't like just enjoy it. Like like it's like. And there is government propaganda to like, advertising to try to get people of color to go hiking, but it's just like not a thing. It's like it's just like you just go to work to like the fields. You just don't go and walk around for a couple of hours, So it's an interesting relationship of race and class with nature is very interesting. Then let's go downstairs and show you other projects. They're way better. Thank you very much.
And a BA in philosophy from Evergreen State College in Olympia, Washington. And an MFA in photomedia from the University of Washington. He's participated in many prestigious residencies, such as the Skowhegan School of Painting and Sculpture in Maine, the core program at the Glassell School of Art, at the Museum of Fine Arts in Houston, the MacDowell Colony in New Hampshire, and the Center for Photography at Woodstock. And you heard from Rodrigo, he's had a really busy year, but every year seems to be very busy. So this, I think, is his 4th solo exhibition this year. Previously, he's had solo exhibitions at art museums and art centers in Portland, Memphis, Wichita, Santiago, Chile, Salt Lake City, and Seattle. And he's received grants from the Joan Mitchell Foundation, the Drawing Center, Art Matters, and Artist Trust in Seattle, among other organizations. And his work is in the collection of the Museum of Fine Arts in Houston, the Frye Art Museum in Seattle, Tacoma Art Museum, LA County Museum of Art, Nelson Atkins, and that's just a few of the institutions. So please join me again in welcoming Rodrigo to the podium.
Hi. Is this on? Yeah. Yes, thank you. I just want to show you more work that is, I often do this talk and I show a lot of the videos, but I will skip all the videos today. They are really good, trust me. They are really good. You don't know what you're missing, literally. But they're also everything is in my webpage. I just was more interested in kind of like guide you through like the way I think and the way I make shows that they are. Like my body of work have evidence slowly through the years, but I make shows, I make essays that they take in consideration the space and the venues and the history of the venues and the social conditions where the show is presented, and they are a response of their time, but kind of devote of fashion in some way, and just like wanted to like consider how this problem has been historically present. So for my first museum show, I was lucky enough to work with a curator that also gave me a lot of freedom, and she basically the good thing about the Frye Art Museum is that like the curator was also the director. So I didn't have a huge hierarchical structure to like negotiate my ideas. So it was very nice to be able to do a lot of things and like share my ideas and kind of like compromise with only one person and not with like the preparator and the like and the the curator and the budget, and like there was just one person I have to have a dialogue. So in some way that allowed me to expand a lot of my ideas. So it was interesting because also I didn't know what to make, and I've been working in this city of photos that they were very abstract and they were thinking about ruins, and I was having this like trying to update the ideas of ruins in photography, and having a relationship with why I wanted to update this ruin, why I wanted to comment on the ruin porn, like the people go and document places where tragedy, economical or like physical have happened. So in the museum, I wanted to like put forward this idea that like museums can be, not always going to be a white box, a pristine space, but we're still going to need in the future to go to draw knowledge somewhere else, right? So we need to go and draw knowledge from somewhere and think about those ideas that the space gives us. And that's why it's important to start restructuring institutions with with people you collect, which people you show, how you expose them, and the kind of freedom that you give to artists. So I covered the whole wall in graphite. Graffiti is made with graphite. So they have this shininess in them, and they were like, I left the scaffolding that I was using to make the drawings. And I just left the paper that I was using to take care of it. And I put the prints directly on the scaffolding. The series called Hedonic Reversal. My photo series are really small. They're like editions of 3, and every time I feel like I made a terrible mistake, but also I like that allows me to move really quickly from the series, and once it's just done, or they sold, or I've been showing them enough, I move on. But this series was directly addressing the idea of ruin porn and people documenting sadness and pain in other cities. I was thinking about like how what makes people want to document those places. Also like why in Peru, Mexico, Italy, they live with ruins, and in America they destroy them and build something new right away, or the only way that ruins are present is when they respond to economic failures. Like there's almost this capacity of learning from the past. It's just like completely absent. So I wanted to like make images that could resemble the feeling of ruin without going to a particular community to take advantage, right? Without aestheticizing somebody else's problem. So I was playing in my studio, making these ruin-like things, and working around. And also was one of the first time I started using this photographing and rephotographing and building this without it wasn't to create an optical illusion, but there is like, if you see all the images have the same vantage point, and in a lot of them you see my footprints. So there is like, there is no line about the production. There is a presence of the body, and I want to make this like material performance, and the material transmits something that is my intentions. I didn't want to make a trompe l'oeil. I just wanted to like evidence that there is like they are produced to make you think about something, but they are thoughts. They are not the thing itself. With the in the show, I also made a video where like I made a 3 channels video about the cleaning crew in the stadium at night, and the drawings were part of the strategies that the cleaning crew uses to clean the stadium. Yeah, this idea of maintenance and cleaning and the ruins and the things that like people will do to keep up with something is left for people that most likely gonna be forgotten right away. So I think there's all people that are never the stars of the movie, right? So like it's like having this crew that like I give them protagonism and I try to understand their work. It was very important. I don't want to show you the movie, but is amazing. I'm having a conversation with myself. Not just around you. So that is one project. I'm just gonna show you like 4 projects, and I'm gonna try to. And this, like last year was a lot of news and controversies about the monuments taken down, and in some way, and you see a lot of since you have the reference of the shop upstairs, you have to do like a lot of my project is not only pointing at the problem, is offering some sort of creative solution to like how you can stop thinking about the problem, right? Like make more beautiful images that they don't take advantage of people. Like in this case, I was like thinking about, I was living in Texas, and I was like, how is possible that like I had a girlfriend that lived in Richmond and in Virginia. There was like Monument Road. It's like you drive and it's like a mile straight of like terrible people. Like it's like, and it's pretty impressive that they are there present in the public consciousness, and you just like live with that. So, and now it's weird because like people were talking a lot, and this, everybody has an opinion about it, and it's like, and I was like, how? But to me, it wasn't about like the monuments can exist. I'm more like like I go to a lot of places I don't like, and you just can leave, and so the thing of this is like how you leave them behind. To me, leave them behind could be like building 10 other monuments for people that you love. And the problem is like and that is something that the Democratic Party has a big problem now, is that they don't know what to love. They like, and they don't know what they love, what they want. They just know this idea of having always an opposition party. It is very counterproductive because it's like, it's not 2 clear ideas. You don't choose one. You choose like that or not that. Mm-hmm. And it's just like a main problem with like how we conduct politics here. In Chile, there is like 5 parties. Sometimes it's too many ideas, but you get to pick. There is like, and so I was thinking about like what are the monuments that I like, and I grew up in Chile, and where we have animitas, these roadside altars for people that get shot in the street, and those are like for unknown people, and they're beautiful sometimes, they're ugly, but they're like so ugly that they're like interesting, because sometimes put an ofrenda as a kind of beer as ofrenda, and that is like, that's all what he liked probably, some people just like that, they're happy with a beer, and it's great. So you see these little monuments in the streets in Chile everywhere. You see these things, and it's that beautiful, and it's lonely, and they carry weight. So I make this, I teach myself how to do programming and CNC, and I make a lot of molds with these like, massive structures. Also I wanted to like, the way, because English is an ongoing challenge. It's like trying to learn words and trying to understand words, and so I go to the dictionary a lot, and I think a lot about what the words means, and like how you understand, like you describe something as monument, but before you start making a monument, you have to start questioning where monumentality resides. What is monumental? You could describe, it's not about a scale for sure, because I have described Mona Lisa as a monumental piece of art, and it's tiny, right? So like how you understand monumentality from the perspective that is not about the scale. There is a design on the monuments that there is something that you call monuments without even when you see a corner, without seeing the whole. So what are the structures, what are the design that something requires to become part of the public consciousness, right? How they design something to look monumental. So I was taking a lot of elements from like, Mayan thing, Aztec things, and like, futuristic stuff. Like there's this very interesting Soviet parking bus stops that are very, very interesting. So I was using a lot of these materials and plaster. I really love plaster, and I like clay a lot, so I end up using a lot of that. So I was building this structure that was kind of like, and the idea was like, having this modular shape that like you can give it, if like your kid die, you can just like, or somebody loved one die, you can just give them a kit to like make the monument for them. So like so the photos. When you take away the place, the centerpiece, this also helps you to question what is the scale of monumentality, right? Like the same shapes of the space, and this is embedded onto the wall. And then you see the images. And the images are only a sample of the possibilities of these materials that I make. So the photos are these like possibilities for it. And also like, how the materials can evoke or think about photography, and I think a lot about what the history of photography can offer to the objects, or the portraiture of the objects, or the presence of the objects. In this case, I did something similar, but I print this negative. I print a negative image on. So I use everything. I use the same camera. I use a Pentax 6.7 that is very old. Like I use black and white film a lot because traveling is like, it's really hard to find. Like if you're in LA, it's cool. You can go to the lab and develop. But like if you're in Omaha, like it's just really hard to find a reliable lab to develop. So I can develop in my black and white. I can develop in my bathroom, and I just can scan. I can wait until I have all the scans in LA or in a big city. So I shoot and I scan. I shoot and I scan. So I was having this like negative, this transparency paper with the image printed negative. And as you saw, the shape I made, it was white. So I paint everything black, and then I reshoot it again in front of that negative. So that was painted black, and I become white and become black again. And so like the translation of the back image is the negative that is printed onto the image, onto the wall. So you can see the layers, and I like that because it gives this like kind of techno look, but it's just because it's so lo-fi that this look techno look, and also it gives you this. They also become as the animitas are these like memorial sites for unknown people. The image itself becomes this portal between like life and death of the photographic medium, right? Like documenting the image was a very important part. So yeah, that is another version of the installation I did in Vienna. You know what is interesting also? Like I always mention this part because it's like how society learned to live with pain. It's very fascinating to me. Like I make that city when I moved to Houston, and I show it in Houston, and nobody wrote about it, nobody bought the pieces. Like it's just like I felt really let down by the whole situation, and I thought and I was kind of sure that the work was good, but also kind of you never know. And then I showed it in LA, and I got a better response. Like LA Times wrote a really nice article, like, and other blogs wrote a nice article. I got like 3 or 4 really good reviews. Still nobody bought it. So I was like, man, those photos are nice and they're cheap and they're small. Come on, like, just. And then I showed it in Vienna, and the whole so far away from Texas for the idea in Texas, and everybody bought them in Texas. They sold out, and it's really interesting that like how like because Europeans are living with so much, like they're ashamed of they know that they fucked up, and like they just like they will take share of that. Okay, I buy it. I know. Something similar that we did. I apologize. Here my money. Give me the piece. Let me live with that. They live with that all the time. So it was interesting that how much they understand themselves in relationship with their own history. So yeah, that is that was the piece about the monuments and things like that. This is a very small project, but it's also like thinking about the landscape and the piece. I did a project at the Clark College in Vancouver, where I have all the students drawing this landscape with the charcoal, and then also I have all the students from the ceramics classes to make these tools, and I help. We all build this like chandelier, It basically is like about empathy. This project is called Help Wanted. I needed all the help I could take, but also it's like the only job that ever put the Help Wanted sign at the cherry jobs, right? So like it's like nobody wants the job that like have Help Wanted outside of the window. So there is a dynamic, interesting dynamic about like a job being offered and kind of like everybody's okay, I just have to have the job, but I don't really want it, right? So like this idea of like understanding very simple tasks and need the help of that. Usually the Help Wanted jobs are like for really menial tasks. So I wanted to like, also with the project help them to understand simplicity in some way. Like the complexity of life is just like so and it's like hard to talk about this project because it's like you don't want to be this new age person that like it's like if you really think about it, if you really think about it, it's like about like the complexity of a range is really fascinating. Like and you don't want to like talk about anybody because then you become that guy. But it is like so like and then with all the people that helped me. I asked them, it's really blown up, but like, so I asked everybody to talk to me about their cherry job experience because also it was interesting to go and teach or do a workshop in a community college that like most people at community college, they either don't know what they want to do or they went out there, they went to work and then came back to study because it's just they realized that the labor market that sucks, they need more education, they come back. So it's a really interesting. A lot of people are more working class than like in private universities or like like quote unquote better universities. So it's very interesting. The honesty and eagerness of learning in community college is really fascinating. So I really love going to those places and I asked everybody to like tell me about like the cherry job experience because like it's so capitalism is so oppressive that like you assume that the job needs to suck. Like if it doesn't suck, it's not a real. You shouldn't get paid. So like I think it's like it's so part of our belief system. So that led me to the labor unions because job sucks and job sucks so much that like nobody wants to do it. And then when you have a job, you don't want any of the money of that sucky job to go somewhere else that is not your pocket until you get sick or like until you get fired, and then there is nobody to help you out, right? And it's something that. On the other side, like that is something that capitalism knows, neoliberalism knows really well. Is like divide and conquer. Like if they disassociate you, if they make you believe that like you alone will become rich, then they can eliminate collective bargaining rights and then never help. Nobody ever have to be responsible for you, right? So, or as a society, we cannot be responsible for each other. So like the disappearance of labor unions is very important because everybody is a freelancer, but everybody also have the same objects. Everybody has an Apple, Mac, or like the same machines because they sold you the same object to be independent. So like when you take the lead. So I was doing a residency in San Francisco, and I went to the Labor for Research Center at San Francisco State. And I took all these images from the labor unions, and then I erased the letters and then and the names, and they start looking like a football team, like soccer teams or military symbols, right? And you can tell that there is a direct correlation between the amount of support that the military have and the passion for games that the people have in states that they have eliminated collective bargaining rights. All the red states really believe in the military. Like, so it's a thing that have become you brother. We need that sense of brotherhood, but work is not because you want to be rich alone. So like military symbols and sport teams are the only one. It's the only time you get 100,000 people to agree on something. Is when like the local team score. So it's just kind of interesting and kind of sad. The fluorescent tubes. I made these flags, very distressed, and the fluorescent tubes. They're not lights. They're like they're light boxes. So there is film strips. The one in the right has archival images from Cesar Chavez time. From the so all this, and then in the bottom there was like the real labor unions. You can see there the images. The one to the left, it has all these movies from the movies from that have labor unions or blue collar characters in them. You know, blue collar with Richard Pryor, or like Norma Ray, or like On the Waterfront, 2 Days, One Night. You know, movies that they don't make anymore, kind of deal. Like, so I make a video too that I show you. I'm not gonna show you videos, but it's really good. It's really good. It's just talent. That video is like my version of Tual and Remain. It was at the Portland Art Museum. That video, the Prole, it just came down on Sunday for my birthday. Yeah, that's the universe present. Just yeah. So that video was shown at the Portland Art Museum, and another video that all talking about labor issues. Is currently at the Art League in Houston. So if you happen to be around for some reason, you just go to Art League. It's a nice project. And then now I moved to like that video is kind of my version of 12 Angry Men too. It's like 11 workers trying to convince each other to form a labor union. It's really good. And like and this is kind of like start the end of the. This is the last show I did. I did it in September at Up for Gallery, and it just came down from. Then it went to New York at the Future Hudson Foundation, and it just came like a month ago. It was at the Claudeman Gallery in LA. And looking at the barricades and the protests, is Nicaragua is going to shit right now. Venezuela is just like a mess. The president of Brazil is going to jail. Things are not looking good down south. But people are protesting and people are manifesting and they're rising. And I think the active change is important. And sometimes you miss it here. People in South America don't march only on Saturdays and afternoons, So like it's just like, so I think making these barricades and this grabbing mundane elements to like respond to oppressive forces is kind of part of the language of that I grew up, and a lot of people that like in South America grew up. I was thinking a lot about the book of poems, Canto General, by Pablo Neruda, where he uses words to fight colonialism and trying to like build a book of poems that can tell a different story about Latin America's fate. So I started looking at the sculptural value of the works and how elements that they are not aggressive, they become very menacing when they're displayed in a certain way. So the possibilities of things is very important to me when I show you the tools, remaking the tools with clay. When a lot of the things like the same elements that are, the same images that are here with landscapes, they can become they can become part of the discourse of the opposite, right? Like we have all the tools that we need to like talk about everything. It's just a matter of like matters of perspective a lot of the time, and centered everybody in the right position to see it. So, different military symbols and like, so these are the images, the barricades, where I made a lot of structures of clay, and I photograph and I rephotograph them to create a space. I made them during my residency at Lightworks in Syracuse, New York. And then I was just like building them slowly, and a lot of these materials take a long time, like I work amazingly fast there because I have a lot of assistants and I have people that could retouch the images and scan the film for me. And so it was very amazing residency that like people helped me a lot because I only had 3 weeks to do this whole series. So I could go and shoot the whole day, go at night, develop film, leave it to the assistant to scan the film, and then come back and shoot another and destroy the set. The problem is that you have to make a set and destroy it and then print, these are 12 by 8 feet sets. So I have to print enough images to like shoot there, and each one is unique to the circumstance of the shooting. So it is like wasting probably $1,000 on prints and photocopy and paper to like get this one, and get each image is like, then you destroy it and have to build something new and make a cast cone, like casted in clay, a cone that is only going to be present in one photo, So together with the images of the barricades, I was like also looking at the images of the protesters in Venezuela and in Nicaragua, Brazil, Ukraine. People like fight. You need the mask to protect yourself and also conceal your identity. So a lot of these masks, they're part of like your response, like physically and visually against the police. So I was like making the same. I was like just rethinking the mask as I covered myself with clay, and I made this mask with bottles and cans and make tapes with reflective tapes to make to make them pop and to make them they are made with the reflective tape that you use in the safety jackets to work at night. So they have that like danger present in it, like it's a. And then this is a project that I just did now that you saw upstairs, and I just talked to you about it, but I wanted to like show you that it's like they are very different aesthetically. A lot of the projects. And the ideas come from different places, and a lot of the time it's responding to the news. But there's in some way there's a cohesiveness into thinking about how you can update the social norms and how you can put the social problems and the political issues they can be a generative or creative gestures, and that eventually will help you to understand the problem. Sometimes they're so complex that like you cannot know everything, but I think understanding a little bit is better. So like, turning back on the paintings and just I think just the act of like concealing the information that some all white painter can give you, and then like let them for once just be in the back. I think just that's enough creative gesture to you don't have to eliminate them. You don't need to go and burn paintings. You just can just put them, just flip them. Yeah, that is all the stuff. That's enough, I guess. You guys have questions? Have more questions? Some more comments?
I read in your resume you work in construction.
Yeah.
I heard your comment upstairs where you sort of spoke about artists as workers.
Yeah.
Now that I see the breadth of your putting things together, is there a job that comes to mind that the artist should be doing? Like,
no.
Or they're just making, they're doing stuff?
Well, I think a lot about that question. Like, there's no I should be doing. Is I think there is two answers for that in some way. First, I think, and I see it in LA a lot, and in small towns it's hard to like understand but there is so much money in art, and there is so much like problems with like not feeling adequate, and like most artists have like imposter syndrome, and there is so many like problems with the way that like people understand themselves as artists, that I think the main problem is getting artists to align themselves with the working class and not with the board of trustees, or try to hang out with like go to the gala of some organization, or going to like I think honoring some artists. It's just like it is. I know artists in New York and LA that they go to all the galas and they go all the stuff, and and it's great for their career, but their work look like that. They look like they've been like serving to like they're bound to the wrong gatekeepers. And I think that's a main problem with artists, is like not trying to be these ladder climber people and just like align themselves with the working class is very important. And probably my career could be different if I was nicer to rich people, but like, or like I could just like, or like I would just want to go out, but like, I don't drink, I get sleepy after 11, I just don't like to do other stuff. I like to work in the studio a lot, and most of my pants are dirty because every single day, or every weekend, I think like it should be fun to go to a bar or to go to an event or go to an opening, and then I end up being like, oh, fuck this place. I just go to my studio, and then I have all my nice pants dirty because I end up working at night every Friday and Saturday. So there is something about that. The second part of the answer is that I want something I try to teach my students a lot, is that thinking is really hard labor, and I think that is something that you have to kind of exercise capitalism out of you from early age, because somebody needs to get some thinking done, And if you're like if you are always freaking out about making more and producing and equivalent, and painters are particularly obsessed with that thing, like putting more paint on the canvas and just like going to the studio over and over and over again, which is something nice about it, Like I do it myself, I work my ass off all the time, but I also make time every morning to read a couple of hours and to challenge myself to like follow the news all day through the day. So the next project is about me being part of contemporary society. So like I think like teaching it's not teaching how to think, it's just teaching them how to respect the thinking process and not thinking that moving the hands is the only thing that is considered work. So these are two elements that are very important to like consider yourself a worker. You may not have any skills. You may not have to know how to pour concrete or how to form or how to like make molds or how to like, stretch a canvas. But if you do like honest thinking when you're making art, I think it's like if you like do the research and you're really good at doing research, there's other people that are like super smart. That like I just can't access the information sometimes. There is a generosity part of the process. There is a lot of elements. But yeah, I think thinking is a labor-intensive duty, and people should teach it more. And then you should always like be nicer to artists and not to like curators or like collectors. It's crazy that people admire art advisors. It's crazy that people like art advisors. They're like, well, you just need them, but not, you can't hang out that much with them. Oh, hi, Chris.
Hey, the installation with the Union banners.
Yeah.
You have those 8-foot neon.
Yeah.
Have you laid something across them?
Yeah, so like you make.
I couldn't quite catch it. Could you go back?
Oh yeah. So what I do is very simple. I love making them because like you can make them anywhere. So basically you got like three 1x2s, and you just make a little 8-1-inch dent on it in one side, pass it through the saw, and then nail it, make a box, right? And go to the plexi supply store and just ask them to like give me like some leftover from the they cut 8 sheets of like plexi, and they're often gonna have like a 2-inch leftover that then nobody knows what to do with them. So you just ask them if they can sell you the 2 inches slab that like they always have it laying around mysteriously. So they wanna sell it to you for like $2, and then you get like a bunch of those, and then you slip it in the crack that you did in the saw, and then you put you made the strips of like film, and it looks great. So yeah, they're like cheap.
You don't have a close-up.
No, but I mean there's like
Right there.
yeah, they're like, so basically it's just like the negative is just on top of the like white plexiglass, but like I figured out because it's like go and ask them for like free stuff all the time. No, and the fluorescent tubes are like, like the same size of it. So like it make a really nice even lighting. So it's cool. And the you know this thing is kind of right. The shapes, I got this like a vinyl cutter. So I don't even like I made the design in Illustrator, and then I let the vinyl cutter cut it so I can make like 3 or 4 of the same cuts, and then you make like, so I just keep making the same shape. So like you can build all this, like that is actually graphite, but like and yeah, so like you can keep painting and doing different tones because this is kind of this like masking stencil with like vinyl cutters. So and all this stuff you can buy, it's like, I mean the canvas, those are the drop cloths from Home Depot. So they're like 9x6 drop cloth from Home Depot. I seal them with like rabbit skin glue or like a matte medium. So in general, they're pretty cheap to make. It's not just cheap. It's just like what to me is like that I can make them anywhere. So I made these ones when I was at the Bemis Center for Contemporary Art in Omaha, and then I made the boxes when I got to Utah. That was in QUAC, Central Utah Center of Art. I go everywhere to have a show, like anywhere. Really, I'm the Nicolas Cage of the art. I was just. Yeah.
Thank you for your talk. It was great. I'm kind of curious about the nomadic nature of your practice.
Yeah.
So, the kind of ways that it has fed your work, because of the kind of the potential of the materials being what you can find, or developing the film, and there's something so wonderful about that. And I guess I'm kind of curious about, are there things that you think about within the long term, that a permanent studio, projects that could happen in a permanent studio that couldn't happen within a nomadic way of working, and vice versa, like working nomadically, how has that progressed your practice in a different direction than maybe the last time you had a long-term studio?
Well, I technically had a long-term studio when I was doing the residency in Houston. But I figured it out. There's something about like that. I don't know. I feel like your ideas shouldn't be, or the work there is work that you want to make now, and there is work that you can make. If you really want to make work now, I don't know how to say it, like. So I'm not really like a smart, or like I didn't do well in school. I just did all the academic things in the way that you're supposed to do it, but I wasn't an A+ student. Like I was like okay student all the time. I just wanted to do. I really love reading, and I really like to be in academia. But I think it's interesting to be in places where you get challenged intellectually, and I really want to know more about everything. But I never excel. Like I'm pretty sure none of the teachers have like good memories of me. So like I just do, but also I learned that like if you show up with a good project, even if it's not the assignment, people will like it, right? Like you as a teacher, you want to see good shit on the wall rather than like the thing that you ask them to do, right? So like the same with this, like and the same way if you are flexible with your own ideas too, is like you can find a lot more freedom because the good idea that you have now can be good next year. If it's not good next year, then wasn't that good enough? Like what's maybe trend, maybe you follow fashion. And I have to, like, when I did a studio visit with the students here, I don't think none of them is here, but like they were I felt like a lot of them were following fashions and they like and trends onto the production and making work as seen on contemporary blogs. And I think there's something about that. I think a lot of the ideas I want to make, they're going to be good next year too. So they're going to be in a couple of years too. So I think going to a place in a residency and then not having a studio, maybe not going to be the ideal, but then that's a project that I wouldn't have to think about it. So I have to still work. You have to show up to work, and what do you do is like something that like, then you do another idea that you weren't expecting. So those flags came because I was doing the residency and I was learning how to screen print, but also the studio was really small. So a lot of I don't have them here actually. So like what this project was doing during the time I was doing the flags, but I was at Cal Art Institute, and they give you like this little cubicle for like do it, and you can have like a lot of place to like learn how to screen print and do stuff, but like you don't have a real studio where to like make a mess. So I went to the Savage store down the street, where they sell all these toilets and windows and stuff like that. So I asked them if I could use that as a studio, and if I break something, I pay it back. So I could go every day and set the tripod and just like move stuff around. So I could go to the place, the Scala, print these like large format images, and then use like all the things from architectural places that they got Savage, and reuse them. So that I couldn't have think of that idea. Like I don't want to go in my home. Like I don't want to do it in LA. I have I had a permanent studio in Houston, and there is where I was doing hedonic reversal, the black and white images that I show you after the Fry, during the Fry show. So that allowed me to make consistently work doing, it's the largest series I have made. So it's 17 images in the series. Because I have the time and space, and I could just show up and work around. I didn't have to clean because it was my studio. I did so much work at court that like, because I have 2 years of a studio, but in the summer I went to Venice, I went to other residencies, and now I have a studio in LA that I'm making a lot of work. But I only spend just more time in the place. Like the first time I had a studio, I was doing this kind of work early when I was in grad school, kind of performance in the street. Before that, I was walking around. This image was at the Henry Art Gallery in Seattle, and also came down the show on Saturday. And this is kind of like one of the images I did for my graduation, the MFA. And I have all these archival images from landscapes, and then I collaged them together, and I was working mostly in the computer because the UW is really small and have like a studio, but I was making a movie in the studio, so I didn't have a space to use it as a studio. I was shooting for the last year, so I have all these like landscape images that they were collages in the computer. And then I was like traveling around the country doing a lot of constructions and forms, and so I have like a lot of 2x4s and stuff like that. So I could just toss them around and try to make a house out of like just like the chances. So I could just like build these things, and then this was the first time I had a studio at Skowhegan. Was the first residency I did. So it was kind of a miracle because it also is the hardest residency to get in, and it's like like 5,000 people apply every year, and then it was the first one I did. And I met really interesting, my roommate right now is a friend from that time. So it's really great. And this also is the first time I started using photocopies because Skowhegan is so precarious that they only have a photocopy machine. So I was using my archive of landscapes, and I was printing them in the photocopy machine, and then glue them slowly, like the 11x8 on the wall, and finding the piece of wood from the woods, and then just like making these images, But then I was like, these things is interesting and kind of cool, but they still look like a Trompe-l'oeil, so I'm just gonna zoom out, make these images. And this one I was working at Cornish, so I got a job teaching at Cornish photo, a video class. Now I'm a professor in the photo department at UCLA, but I taught video classes most of my early career. And this is what I love. I really love teaching video, and I love making movies. They're really good. And so I was teaching at Cornish, and because in Cornish they have these studios and all this art school is really privileged, a lot of kids. So as good privileged kids, they never use any of the facilities. So I was able to use all their studios without anybody bother me. I just have to work fast because senior year was coming, and like the end of the quarter was coming. I have to like finish. They would freak out for the last 2 weeks, but the rest of the year I could just use the whole time. So I was doing these big installations with the photocopies. I think I was teaching at both. I was teaching at UW and at Cornish. So I was like, I rent a space to like work faster in Houston because also my studio was nice and big, but it was almost too nice for my kind of way to work. So I have to rent this like shitty warehouse where I could destroy everything. So I could start making these things. Sometimes I hire people to help me to clean and build stuff. So I take pictures of them too, playing soccer, building the stages for my movies. Yeah, so improvisation is part of the thing, and I think, and now I have a studio, but I still, I put myself in the position where I don't know what I'm doing, and it's like, it's usually end up, this thing, I didn't know how it's gonna come out, but it come out pretty good. So that's it. Yeah?
Another question to do with, you've talked a lot about class and your work and the dialogue between work and the production of art. And, I'm wondering the way in which your installations, which are so carefully thought out and so conceptualized, then become broken into little pieces that are sellable and that are marketable and that become commodities. And how do you see that moment of the lack of meaning of a single piece of work that no longer belongs to that context of its production?
Yeah, I mean, it's something I think a lot of artists, mostly that work with political issues, have to struggle. There's a level of commodity, and I feel that over other artists, I'm just okay with it, because I mean, I've been broke all my life. So like, if somebody wanna buy it, then just can have it, and I like, I just like. I don't think there is if I have like learned, there is no reward to be stubborn about being like, I already have lived in the way that I want to live. I make all the art that I always want to make. Like, I don't definitely make objects because I want to like, all the things that I make and happen to have a commercial price, they also have my content. So I don't know if the people engage with the content, but the designer who shared probably think he made the best shirt ever and should be wearing for somebody that is better, but we're wearing it. So it's not like, so like the intentions of the maker sometimes is just like they're present all the time, but also it's like you just have to eat, and just, I don't think I'm not compromising in the way I make work by, some of the pieces that I never show here, they sell really fast, and I've been making the last, but I'm 36, and like it's first time I have a savings account, so like it's not like I haven't, and I grew up super poor. So like, if I make like $8,000 with like selling one thing, it's just something that like, it doesn't happen to people like me from where I grew up. Most of my friends still live in the neighborhood that I grew up, and they have like a kid and they live with their parents. So like, yeah, I have no shame. It's like if my things become commodity, I think like, I know for sure that I'm not losing intentions. And I'm not sending it to make to China. I'm not making it quick. And actually, like, I just making it bigger and harder to sell. But like, it's just like I take all my money into the work, So it is there is a level when I go and make another painting that is like, sometimes it takes like the idea already passed, and like I think, but it's becoming a job. But with all that money, I can come here and be like, I don't care if I'm, not getting paid for like a lot of shows I do. Like, I don't have a stipend of $5,000 to do one show. I don't have like I don't get like $10,000 in my pocket to do, like, to travel. I usually like, I stay in somebody's couch, and like I stay like, and I do shows everywhere, wherever people invite me. It's a good exercise. So yeah, with the money I take for the paintings, they have become commodity. I make more movies, and I make other projects, and I curate shows to help people that I think they should be visible. I write things for magazines. I just take my time to do stuff that I really love. So there is yeah. I mean, everything, you can sell anything. Like this, some of these rich people are so dumb.